Yeah, now we haven't actually had a lot of Man City victories to reflect on in recent weeks and months, have we? But after a torrid run
No.
of form, City managed to end 2024 on a high, a small one, but still a high as they beat Leicester City 2-0 at the King Power Stadium last week. It was a much needed win for Man City, wasn't it? It wasn't a perfect
Yeah.
performance by any means, but there were some positives to take from it. So what were the standout moments for you? What impressed you the most from that win over Leicester, and what was Pep Guardiola's 500th game in charge of the club?
I feel like it was a success for individuals as opposed to a success for the team because there was still all the trappings of failure that we've had recently kind of written all over that. There was lots of mistakes. Leicester more than had their chances, and the 2-0 probably was a little bit unfair on Leicester. So it was still very much a performance when you take it all together of concern. But football is all about results, and for me right now, I'm sort of looking for any reason to be positive, in terms of looking for something to grab onto. Because I think when you're in down, right down at the very bottom, and your confidence is low, you're looking just for hope, basically. And I think there was some of that in a few of the players in particular. A few of the performances. Look, this team is very much clearly low in confidence. It's low in energy. It's low on belief. But there are some players finally coming back. I mean, the biggest positive for me, I think, was the fact that the availability of certain players. For once, the bench didn't look too threadbare. With Walker, McAtee, Grealish, Doku, Gundogan, Simpson, Pusey, Nico O'Reilly, Scott Carson. There was players who played there before. It wasn't just a bunch of academy players. And we had obviously a pretty strong starting lineup too. So it felt to me like a step in the right direction, if not necessarily a strong performance. It was more a needed result, and individually. The likes of there's plenty to talk about for the likes of Savinho had a really good performance. Haaland back on the score sheet. Ake, I know he went off again, but standing up real strong as always. And of course, James McAtee, the headline grabbing cameo off the bench, much waited for. Something that we wanted to see for an awful long time as a City fan. And then we also kept a clean sheet. So even though it wasn't the most exciting performance, there was defensive frailties. They did create chances, and Leicester probably felt a bit hard done by to lose that game 2-0. City had to win, and they did. And ultimately, it was through moments of quality. And City have lacked a little bit of that recently too. So overall, the right performance, not a great result, but positive.
Yeah, you're right. And one player you mentioned there was James McAtee. He's not had a lot of football this season, and he's allegedly become frustrated by that. But he
Yeah.
came on for Phil Foden with about half an hour or so to go in that win against Leicester, and yeah, produced a great piece of skill in the build up to that second goal scored by Haaland, a crucial goal to somewhat settle the nerves towards the end. How impressed were you by McAtee's impact off the bench?
Yeah, McAtee is a player I've been watching personally for an awful long time. I saw him in the youth team alongside the likes of Cole Palmer and Liam Delap and all these quality players, Howard Bellis, Morgan Rogers, Guardiola, I think mentioned him after the game as well, Romeo Lavia too. He was involved in a highly skilled, highly brilliant City youth side. And there's a lot of expectations around him. And if I'm being crushingly honest, I've been really disappointed with his lack of opportunities this season, simply because I feel like there was no reason not to. Like I can't think of a genuinely good reason other than Guardiola. No, I can't think of a good reason. Full stop. Guardiola's reasoning was that he wanted to lean on the senior players, but the senior players are need support. Everyone needs support. Everyone needs a rest because if you're going to lean on the senior players, they need to be fit. And Guardiola sort of insinuated that the reason a lot of the young lads haven't been used this season is because he's very much a believer in experience, and those who get you in the mess can sort of get you out of it. Well, McAtee isn't this sort of completely raw 18-year-old, 17-year-old. He's 22 years old. He's had 2 years of senior football experience, both for Sheffield United, of course, one in the Championship and one for a team battling relegation in the Premier League. So he's had a year of Premier League football and done pretty well. I'm not going to say he's, ripped up trees or anything like that, but he's had, some really nice moments, scored a couple of lovely goals as well for Sheffield United. And he's learned to sort of mature and grow and become a man, which is important, obviously, for his development to learn that physicality, that expectation, and nothing really sort of hardens you more than a relegation battle, especially in arguably the hardest league in world football. So I always thought McAtee would be very useful, and seen as a squad player because once again he has that experience and he has when you align that experience and that work rate, and he's not the smallest. Everyone associates Man City with these tiny technical players. I'm not saying he's big, but he's like 5'11", 5'10", 5'11". So he's a decent. He's not like this 5'5" little guy. He can hold his own physically. Um, and he's got the experience now, and he's proven technically more than good enough for Manchester. Well, he's proven he's technically good enough to come on and be involved. Put it that way. I was disappointed that Guardiola hadn't been using him like he did, against Leicester, here and there, every now and then, if a senior player looks tired or isn't quite performing. Because I think it's a bit of a blind spot of Guardiola's every now and then. James McAtee, I'm not going to tell you he's going. I can't tell you he's going to be world class. I don't know. I know he's really talented, but I don't know how far he'll go. And anyone who says otherwise, no one's got a crystal ball. We don't know, but he's clearly more than good enough to be useful, especially when City are in a crisis. And when you watch Gundogan and Bernardo run themselves into ground every single week, and by the 85th minute, they can't even run back anymore, or you've got tired wingers because they're all injured or whatever, or Phil Foden's struggling to find his form. Lean on the hunger of these young players. It's been really infuriating to watch these young players who, once again, especially in McAtee's case, have experience, know exactly what to do. It's been infuriating seeing them being ignored because there's many reasons. There's practical reasons. The players are tired. There's hunger reasons. These young lads will have the hunger that maybe some of these guys don't. And there's confidence reasons. Like the fearlessness of youth uh, can be a really refreshing thing. So I feel it's been an oversight. And I'm not going to say, once again, if he played, everything would be different. But some players would be less tired, and there's a good chance that therefore the City's performances would be in a better place. And I was really happy, to see McAtee come on and remind Guardiola of that talent that he's got. Not that he doesn't know, it's just to show that this guy is an established, footballer already. This guy won't let you down. And that moment of quality just to jink past a couple of people. He didn't make the goal as such, but he was the spark for the intensity, and the goal that came from it. And City right now have been missing that. Those little moments of magic, those little moments of spark that would come from a Bernardo Silva, but he's been too tired. He's been worn down so much that spark's disappeared a little bit because he's so overrun. So lean on people like McAtee. So long and short is I was buzzing to see him there because he deserves to be, and I think that context matters of where he's come from, and what he can do because you don't. Become the best player in a side at academy level with likes of Cole Palmer, Morgan Rogers, and so on. And he was, don't get me wrong, he genuinely was. He captained that side. And you don't start for England 21s and be that brilliant. And even lead for them without having talent. So use it.
Yeah, I think many have been surprised that how little he's been used, especially during a period where, City have been down to the bare bones and
Yeah.
needing that injection of energy from somewhere, and he's there sitting on the bench waiting for that opportunity. And yeah, I think it's been a surprise. Kevin De Bruyne's heat praise on McAtee as well. After the match, he said, he's got really good quality. He's not played much, but against Leicester, he was important. For a young player to come in and give us a bit of energy, a little bright spark, it will do good for him and for us, and it will maybe give Pep a bit more confidence to play him. So,
Yeah.
can you see McAtee therefore featuring a bit more in the coming weeks during a month as well when he's actually been linked with a move away from Man City?
I think he has to be honest. I mean, there's sort of a need for it to happen. Look, we've seen too many academy players leave Manchester City and go on to be stars. And look, players slip through the net all the time. That comes with the territory of having a world class academy. I understand that. But at some point, you start to ask questions about your decision making. If they all start to leave and they all start to become stars elsewhere, especially when your own squad starts to look aging and a little bit tired. McAtee, we can't, he can't end up being another Morgan Rogers or Cole Palmer. It looks really bad. And McAtee wants to be here. He's a Manchester City fan. And we sort of need him right now. So I think he has to be involved, because the team need him, because the club need that story. And I think it's the right thing to do. So look, he's earned it as well. Once again, the little cameo was really good. It was smart use of the ball, a little bit of creative spark to essentially get the victory for Manchester City. And I think Guardiola will lead on him, especially when Phil Foden's form has been so poor, which it has. It's dipped, unfortunately. I hope he finds his best form, but maybe this is the kind of thing that'll do it. Maybe the players do need a challenge and a little bit of a reminder that nothing is certain in football. So yeah, I'm expecting him to be involved. I don't think needs to start straight away. I mean, a lot of City fans are calling online for him to start immediately. Sure, he can do, but I'm sort of a believer that just work up to that. Literally bring him on again for another half an hour. Bring him on again for another half an hour. If Guardiola's worried about responsibility, well, don't give it all of him then. Don't feel like, oh, you played one 30-minute game. Now you've got to go and save Man City season and start every single week. Because that could be a lot. I understand that. I mean, at some point, you have to do that anyway. But I understand why he doesn't want to do that. Fine, just give him half an hour here and there and say, you're not responsible for this entire game, but we need you. Come on and see what you can do. Then maybe lead towards a start, in a couple of weeks or 4 or 5 games down the line. I don't know. So I feel like McAtee, I think he has to be used. I think he's versatile. He covers multiple positions. You can put him on the left quite easily. You can put him on the right. You can put him as a false nine, as a midfielder. And I'm not saying he'd be as good in every position there, but he would certainly do a good job. And he's mature. Um, and he wants it, which is the most important factor. So yeah, I'm expecting to be used now. I think Pep might have realised he should have been used a bit more. I think the penny might have finally clicked there or dropped even.